It's driving me out of my mind.
Welcome back to another edition of the FSU Simicast. It's been a hot minute since I've been on. It's time for another recruiting update. The dead period ended last Thursday, so you're starting to see more in-home visits, official visits, whether it be committed guys to FSU or FSU targets. We're less than 2 weeks from signing day, which is February 1st. So let's go ahead and hop on the old 24/7 composite team rankings and see where FSU stands. So let's do that real quick. All right, here we are with the good old composite rankings. Last time we spoke about recruiting, FSU was at 5. They've dropped down to 6. Looking at the breakdown of the class, 3 5-stars, 6 4-stars, and 3 10-stars. So currently 9 blue chips and 10 non-blue chips. So we're under the crucial 50% blue chip rate. And if you've never listened to one of these podcasts before about recruiting, there's been some people like Bud Elliott and some other recruiting analysts that like to point to the 50% blue chip rate as a kind of like a benchmark, a predictor for very elite success, consistent high-level success. And I think after the national title game, I think that made the 15th national champion in a row to recruit at a 50% blue chip rate or better for the 4 classes leading up to that national title. Okay, and little caveat, I guess, little side note. This is the first recruiting season, if you will, that I've been on Twitter, and man, there are still people that still want to argue against the merits of recruiting, and I think I've discovered the problem here. There's people that say recruiting doesn't matter, it's underrated. Shockingly, air quotes, those people are usually fans of teams that don't get elite classes. But I think the problem is when someone counters that by saying recruiting does matter, maybe they're thinking, or maybe they're inferring that those people mean that recruiting is the only thing that matters. That's not the case. Recruiting is probably the most important factor in college football if you want to consistently compete at a high level. But don't get confused thinking when people say recruiting matters, they think it's the only thing. Obviously, there's other factors. You can have a dumb fuck coach that just fucks up talented players, can't coach them for shit. Myriad of other factors. But if you want to consistently compete at an elite level, you need to recruit at an elite level. The numbers say it. This isn't opinion based. Okay, that'll probably be the last time I go over that. Okay, for you people that still don't think recruiting matters, just Google recruiting matters. There's article after article with numbers that prove the better you recruit, typically, or more often than not actually, the better you do. Now, teams can pop up once in a while that aren't in the top 10 or top 15 or top even 20 of recruiting rankings and have good seasons. Typically, those teams are A, well coached, and B, and probably more importantly, they're usually experienced, senior-laden teams that can have a great year, everything comes together. But by and large, I mean, talent wins when it comes to college football. This is no secret. Saban's a great coach, great defensive mind, but he's not reinventing the wheel. You know how he's winning? Simple, obvious. He's winning with the best players in the country. This isn't hard, folks. Okay, back to Florida State's class, the breakdown. There's some ledge jumpers that I see on Twitter, and if I scroll far enough down on a FSU article in the comments section, who are worried about the 10 3-stars showing here on 24/7. Okay? Firstly, the 50% blue chip rate, as Bud Elliott pointed out, and I refer to him a lot for Tomahawk Nation. He's the recruiting director, I believe, at SB Nation. I don't agree with everything he says, but when it comes to recruiting, the guy kind of knows his shit, you know. So, just that's an aside. I don't take everything he says as being always correct, but for the most part, the guy knows what he's talking about. Anyways, the ledge jumpers are worried about the 10 3-stars that you see here. However, if you look a little deeper and I think I said on a previous podcast, I'm not the type of person that's all of our 3 stars are underrated and yada yada yada. However, if I would like to help some of you ledge jumpers back off the ledge there and let you know that although 24/7 is my favorite site and probably it's recognized as probably the top recruiting service, I would probably put Rival second, ESPN third, Scout last. However, that being said, if you guys want a little bit of solace, let's go ahead and look at those 10 3-stars and see what some other sites think, and maybe that'll make you not jump. So let's take a look at that real quick. I got a picture here. All right, now I snipped these pictures and put them together, and I'm not technically savvy or technical savvy. I threw them on PowerPoint and enlarged them, so that's why they look blurry as shit. But hey, you can read them, so that's all that matters. On the left is what I was referring to. Those 10 3-stars you saw on 24/7's composite team rankings, 6 of them are ranked at least a 4-star on ESPN, Scout, or Rivals. So hopefully that makes you guys feel a little better. Again, semantics, tomatoes, tomatoes. I prefer 24/7, but for some of you that like the other sites, here you go. Okay, so don't be scared off by those 10 3-stars. There are levels or tiers of stars. Not every 5 stars the same, or 4-star, or 3-star, etc. You can have higher quality 3 stars and 4 stars and 5 stars. And so when I see ESPN, Scout, Rivals rank some of these 3-star guys from 24/7 as 4 stars, I'm thinking, all right, they're probably top tier 3 stars, or hell, maybe then 4 stars. But they're not ass players, so not all of the 3 stars might be better than their ranking, but it appears maybe a handful could be. All right, and again, the 50% blue chip rate refers to 4 classes, the past 4 classes, and FSU is well over that. And on the right is another picture I snipped. These are both from the comment section of Tomahawk Nation. I should have included the people that posted it, but fuck me. So whoever posted it, if you happen to watch this, sorry, but I didn't come up with these numbers. I didn't. Someone else did the research. On the right is the ESPN 300. That's what these numbers relate to, and this kind of shows the depth of FSU's class. Last year, 24/7 FSU had, I think, 18 blue chips. However, I think they only had 1 5-star, or maybe 1 or 2 players in the top 30. And if you look this year at the bottom right, look at FSU's top players. And this is, again, this is ESPN. They have even higher ranked players on 24/7. Akers is one of them. 9, 13, 36, 51, 53, and so on. And then look at the in-state rivals. UF, top guy is 118, 134, and it just keeps going down. Miami, 62, 84, etc. So FSU may not be just absolutely pulverizing them in the blue chip count. You can see the quality of blue chips they do have appear, or at least are ranked, much better than the in-state rivals. So again, not a bad thing. When you play these schmucks twice a year, it's nice to be lapping them in recruiting. All right, well, I think I showed what I want to, I said what I wanted to say here. Losing my train of thought. What else did I want to show? Oh, let's go back 24/7 and take a peek at Miami UF, a couple of other teams in the 24/7 rankings, which were recently updated. I don't know if I mentioned that. 24/7's been updated. Most of the recruiting services have updated their rankings for the final time. Okay, we're back on here. Alabama, Ohio State, shocker. They're not going anywhere. Georgia's class is great. Oklahoma's the one that jumped FSU. Let's look for our other rivals. Let me use that down arrow. Sorry. Tennessee, man, that trips me out. Look at this. 10th in the country. If you just look at that, glance at it, don't actually look a little closer, you think, oh, Tennessee top 10. Look at this though. It's a fucking 3-star Army and a half. 27 commits, 22 are 3-stars. Like, Butch is apparently a lot of the top Tennessee talent is he's not holding on to him. And Clemson winning the title and being a neighboring state, I think they touched Tennessee. Doesn't help. Okay, back to the rivals. Clemson checks in at number 14. They only have 13 commits, which that's pretty low. I'm assuming they'll grab a handful by signing day, but they still have a good blue chip rate, 10 to 3. So they're still, the players they are bringing in are good quality. Miami at 16. Again, 14 3-stars. Washington. Now that Washington, actually, they could start having sustainable high-level success if they keep recruiting like this. Number 17 for Washington, 10 4-stars. Peterson's getting shit done. So maybe this year where they were in the playoff, maybe it won't be an anomaly. Although next year they kind of have to hit the reset button. They lose a lot of people. Anyway, Florida. I actually hadn't scrolled down this far when I looked at these updated rankings. I didn't realize they dropped. 23. Just 15 commits, so they have room for improvement. I'm not sure how many more blue chips they'll get. They have 7 4-stars, but again, the highest ranked out of that is like in the hundreds. So I don't know. Swamp Donk needs to fucking pull his head out of his ass and recruit at a higher level. And I guess that's it. We saw the Florida, Miami, Clemson. That's all we really need to see. Just take a peek at the rivals. I guess we could look at the remaining targets. So let's take a look at that real quick, and then I'm going to wrap it up because this is going on far too long here. All right. Let's take a look at the targets here that are remaining. The top one being Marvin Wilson, obviously. The number one D tackle in the country. He's been getting a lot of visits lately. He actually had his official visit to LSU, I think, last weekend. Tim Brewster is on the way there today, which is FSU's recruiting coordinator. I think he had Ohio State come in home with him. So they're just knocking on his door, coming down the stretch here. He's obviously the number one target, and he's the number one guy for me that's remaining on their board. If you get Wilson, the number one D tackle, everything else is gravy in my opinion. Let's take a look at a couple of other targets that FSU has a good shot at. Side note, Laborn got his 5th star, and Stanford lost his 5th star. Now, I'm not sure if Samuels lost his 5th star because he didn't compete at the Under Armour. He was hurt. If so, that seems unfair to take that away. But anyway, gained a fifth star, which, if you're paying attention, all-purpose back. So that's the second 5-star running back in this class. Not to mention Zakondre White, who is a 4-star running back. So when you lose Cook, it's probably not bad bringing 2 5-star running backs. Devontae Smith, wide receiver. He recently visited FSU. I think it's between FSU, LSU, and Bama. Henry Ruggs is apparently Alabama's number one target. He visited FSU last weekend. 24/7 says that some FSU coaches are visiting Ruggs today because I think he visits Alabama this weekend, so they're trying to get ahead there, head start. Malik Gray, you see the big Tennessee logo. He visited them last weekend. He's scheduled to visit FSU this weekend. If he doesn't cancel, there's probably a decent chance he flips. There's probably a decent chance that happens. Levi Jones visited the Gators last weekend. He named him as their leader. That could be an official visit type thing. Sometimes the leaders change with every visit. A lot of people still have FSU as the favorite to land him. And I think he visits the last weekend before signing day, which, good timing. Parks is probably going to go to Bama. They're the big-time leader. Shocker. I think the coaches are visiting. I think Jimbo actually is visiting Parks today. Other than that, the safety, I can't pronounce his name. Nasiruddin, whatever, it doesn't matter. He could flip. Why the fuck would you go to South Carolina? I don't know. Warner's is probably on the back burner, but he's a linebacker, and hey, FSU probably needs one more of those. And that probably wraps up the remaining targets that FSU could feasibly get. Oh, Blackman, one more thing. Let me double check. His composite is still 3 stars. And again, if you don't remember the composite, it's an algorithm that 24/7 uses, which combines their rankings with ESPN, Rivals, and Scout. They try and create the most unbiased ranking by doing that composite. But as far as 24/7's opinion on Blackman, he was bumped up to a 4-star quarterback, as you can see. He wouldn't be in line to even see the field till maybe 2019 at the earliest, assuming Francois starts the next 2 seasons. Which would probably be a good thing because you see 6'5", that's great. He's athletic. 163. He's got to put on some weight big time, so he'll likely have time to do that. Anyway, that wraps it up. Little recruiting update. To summarize, FSU dropped to 6 on 24/7's composite team rankings. Any of you ledge jumpers, don't jump off the ledge. Although they have 10 3-stars, some of them are highly thought of on other sites, so take that as you will. I showed you the targets. There's still a handful of blue chip targets remaining, so FSU they're probably, in all likelihood, they're going to go over the 50% blue chip rate. Which again, I understand it. The numbers line up. The last 15 champions have had a 50% blue chip rate in the 4 classes leading up to the title. But at the same time, I kind of make fun of it. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. Like, oh, got to get 50%. Got to get it, or else... Either way, it'll be all right. That's what this update's about. Don't jump off the fucking ledge. And if any cycle you're not going to be as deep like last year when there was 18 blue chips, then have your blue chips be elite guys. And that's what FSU has with Akers, Kando, Samuels, LeBourne. They have elite guys coming in. So if you're not going to get 15 to 20 blue chips, at least the, I don't know, 9 to 12 or 13 they'll probably wind up with. At least many of those will be very, very elite. So it's a top-heavy class, I guess, if you want to use that term. And as far as recruiting rankings, they matter. Are they the only thing? No. But the most important thing, if you want to consistently compete for college football playoffs, Power 5 conference titles, the national championship, etc. The numbers say that. That's not an opinion. And I guess that about wraps it up. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but this has gone on far too long. I can never keep a video 9 minutes, and God knows people's attention spans see double-digit minutes, and they're like, fuck that. But you know what? Fuck them. Well, actually, if you're one of those people, not fuck you, but there's a handful of you that always comment. I want to thank you. The subscribers I do have, which is air quotes, only 175, which to me, that's awesome. I know in the world of YouTube, that's shit, but I'm not doing this to get YouTube famous, so appreciate all of you that are subscribed. Between now and signing day, which is less than 2 weeks, if anybody commits, I'll probably hop back on here and talk about them. I don't know if there's many that will. There might be a lot of signing day guys as far as the targets go, but we'll find out. It's kind of fun to keep track of. I mean, you take a lot of it with a grain of salt, what these kids tweet out, what they say, but it's kind of fun to keep track of. If they come, great. If not, whatever. The bottom line is FSU will be fine, and at some point I'll talk about what the 2017 season holds, but I'm going to have to spread shit out and make smaller videos because, damn, it's a long off season, folks. Well, that concludes the fucking Simicast today. Let me stop rambling like a fucking idiot. Also, I hope the audio, my voice is a little clearer. I finally got off my ass and got an external mic. Nothing that fancy, but hopefully it sounds a little better. Let me know if it does or doesn't. Anyways, thank you for listening. If you're a first-time visitor, please feel free to subscribe. And this has been another FSU Simicast. I'm out.